Today, this video is about Daryl Guberman exposes the global quality fraud, the American National Standards Institute, the American National Crediting Board, Boeing, the International Accreditation Forum Incorporated in Delaware, which was founded by ANSI-ANAB, its sister organization in Australia, the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation. These two organizations, IAF and ILAC, are associations of accreditation bodies, both national and international, equivalent in accreditation to ANSI-ANAB, who are also their underwriters, the IAF and ILAC. That means they take full legal responsibility for both systematic and product failure. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Daryl Guberman, recognized quality expert and Boeing shareholder. For over 40 years, I have lived and breathed quality across aerospace, medical implants, critical materials. Today, I am here not out of passion, but out of common sense and a duty to the American public, the flying public, the supplier community, and every manufacturer who believes in honest standards and certifications. What I am about to reveal is not speculation. It is a multi-trillion-dollar fraud that has been quietly perpetrated for decades, not only in the United States of America, but worldwide. At the center of this fraud are the American National Standards Institute and the American National Crediting Board. And by the way, ANSI took over complete control over ANAB, isn't that tender, in December of 2018. Their international counterparts, the International Accreditation Forum Incorporated in Delaware, and the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation in Australia. And at the heart of it is the Boeing Company. Yes, the Boeing Company. The Boeing Company sat and colluded with ANSI-ANAB and was on their Management System Accreditation Committee, which you can't find. We have copies of it. We made a snapshot of it in March of 2024. They took it down in around August 2024 of the Management System Accreditation Committee, the very committee with the power to grant, suspend, and withdraw certifications. Yet Boeing itself, and I'm going to say this to you, Boeing itself was not AS9100 certified for 22 years, from 2002 to 2024 and onward, while demanding that suppliers achieve and maintain that same certification. What I did was I read about this in Reuters. Miss Elizabeth Lund, the vice president then of quality at Boeing, stated that they were willing now to get AS9100. So for 22 years, they were in a facility that got your great parts certified by, AS9100 certification, and they put them into aircraft that were uncertified. What does that do to your business? You put a good part into a bad situation. That doesn't sound very good, does it? When I went out to Boeing in October of 2024 on my own dime, because I wanted to find out the truth. The way to get to the truth is talk to the people who are working on the aircraft. I learned that in aerospace. The most knowledgeable individual when I was in helicopters was a guy who swept the floor because he had to clean out the executives' offices. And back then, he was the one who took it to the shredder. So he knew everything that was going on. That was the most important person in the entire company. When the president would get out and give a speech, you started to laugh because you knew more information than he did. Just like Boeing's people. They told me they never saw any CEOs, whether it was Dennis Muhlenberg, David Calhoun. I have not yet. I have people who call me all the time. They said they've never seen Kelly Oberg walking around. That is at Everett, Auburn, Renton, and Northfield. And I asked them about AS9100, and they said, "What is that?" Many people I asked. I said, "Have you ever been audited? Do you know what an audit is?" They says, "No, what is that?" So Elizabeth Lund appeared to be lying. I'm not saying whether she did or she didn't, but I am sure that if you asked a FOIA and wanted to see their internal documents for auditing, they'd either draft it up quickly or they say they couldn't find it, almost like the Alaska door popping off the plane. They couldn't find the paperwork. From what I've gathered, they redid the video that was watching over that plane being taken care of. They doctored it. Most recently, their 787, they fudged documentation. So, we'll continue on. This means, ladies and gentlemen, since Boeing was not AS9100 certified for 22 years, Every certified part you as a supplier sent to Boeing entered a facility that was not itself certified to AS 9100, violating the very integrity of the supply chain, breaking trust. This is the equivalent of sending sterilized equipment into a contaminated environment and then calling it safe. Meanwhile, ANSI-ANAB created and supported international sister organizations like the IAF I told you about, like ILAC, and even tried to build another umbrella body, GLOBALAC, trying to hide, because I've been exposing them a lot. GLOBALAC, the Global Accreditation Cooperation, as a way to camouflage and disperse accountability. These organizations position themselves like the NCAA of accreditation, taking legal responsibility for all systematic and product failures. ANSI and ANAB, as I told you, they take full systematic and legal issues for systematic and product failure from IAF and ILAC. But in reality, they have created a certificate mill, far worse than anything they claim to police. You, the suppliers, have been defrauded. You paid billions and billions for certifications that are unofficial, unaccredited, and ultimately worthless when the very organizations demanding them refuse to meet their own standards. This is not just about unethical. It is about fraud, a collusion between ANSI-ANAB and Boeing to mislead the entire supply chain, the government, and the public. I stand before you today to expose this fraud, not to scare you, but to awaken you. If Boeing, one of the largest aerospace manufacturers in the world, okay, if Boeing could bypass AS 9100 for 2 decades while sitting on the accreditation board that enforces it, what does that say about every certificate under ANSI, ANAB, IAF, and ILAC worldwide? It says this: the emperor has no clothes. The certifications are not just compromised, they are fraudulent. And yes, they are. You may not like that, but they are fraudulent. And we have the documentation. I call on regulators and legislatures and entire supply community to demand the accountability, demand transparency, demand return to real quality certification, not a pay-to-play certificate mill called ANSI-ANAB masquerading as accreditation. Because this isn't about paperwork. This is about flight critical safety. This is about lives. This is about truth. I am Daryl Guberman, and today I am exposing the largest, the most insidious, the most entrenched quality certification fraud the world has ever seen. And the economic devastation that it has created over 22 years makes Elon Musk's bank account look like $1.95. As David Foster Wallace said, and I kind of adapted it for me, he said, "The truth will set you free, but not until it is finished with you." I added to that, "The truth will set you free, but not until Daryl Guberman is finished with you." And the last and most poignant thing is this, from Thomas Paine and Common Sense: "I love the man who can smile in trouble, who can gather strength from distress and grow brave by reflection. 'Tis the business of little minds to shrink, and he whose heart is firm and conscience approves his conduct shall pursue his principles unto death." Ladies and gentlemen, those suppliers, manufacturing associations, you have to get this out to the public, because if you don't support this, if you poo-poo it and bury your head in the sand, your certificate is a fraud. You want me to draw you a picture? Because we got plenty of documentation. We got plenty of knowledge. We have plenty of experience. And most of all, do you think I'm going to screw around with you after you blew a lot of money on a piece of paper that's worthless? I'm not going to bite the hand that feeds me, Daryl. Boeing already bit the dirt. They admitted about the Alaska Air door popping off. They admitted to the Ethiopian Air and Indonesian Air. And remember this, they didn't have to tell the FAA anything about the MCAS system implementation, because in 2009, Boeing was made an agency of the FAA who could self-certify, who can self-certify their own aircraft technologies and designs, which means the MCAS system was put on that plane if they were the FAA. They are the FAA. And then after the planes went down, 2018 and 19, Ethiopian Air and Indonesian Air, the FAA came out and said, "We never allow a company to police themselves or self-certify." You trust that federal agency? Holy shit. 203-556-1493. I thank you.